Hello everybody, welcome to Planeta Isla. Today we're going to go over the excavation of Pompeii. Make sure to watch until the end because it's one of the longest excavations so far. Pompeii. Pompeii is a preserved ancient Roman city in Campania, Italy, 14 miles southeast of Naples, at the southeastern base of Mount Vesuvius. It was buried under 4 to 6 meters of volcanic ash and pumice in the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in AD 79. Pliny the Younger wrote to historian Tacitus 25 years after the event that the event happened on August 24, 79. A fast food area stated the day was October 17. Archaeologists thought it could be written 7 days before the eruption. The relics found after it was excavated, like wine, bread, and others, indicate the season when the grapes were harvested. The kind of bread baked was for colder season. A huge eruption showered volcanic debris over the city of Pompeii, followed by clouds of blisteringly hot gases the next day. Buildings were destroyed, population was crushed or asphyxiated, and the city was buried under a blanket of ash and pumice, which is composed of highly microvesicular glass pyroclastic with very thin translucent bubble walls of extrusive igneous rock. By evening the second day, the eruption was over. For many centuries, Pompeii was buried under a huge mound of ash, which perfectly preserved the remains. When these were finally excavated in the 1700s, the world was amazed at the discovery of a cosmopolitan Greco-Roman city frozen in time. Public buildings like Forum and amphitheater, grand and beautiful houses dating back to the 4th century BCE were also uncovered. Inside were some preserved remains of the people sheltering from the eruption, while others lay buried as they fled. Bakeries were found with loaves of bread still in the ovens. The buildings and their contents revealed daily routine life in the ancient world. The excavated city showed a distinct impression of Roman life, frozen at the moment it was buried. Much of the evidence was lost during the early excavations, probably stolen by looters or disintegration due to poor system of restoration. Pompeii was a wealthy town with luxurious private houses with lavish decorations, furnishings, and works of art, which were the main attractions for the early excavators. Organic remains, including wooden objects and human bodies, were entombed in the ash. Over time, they decayed, leaving voids, and these voids were used by the archaeologists as molds to make plaster casts of horrifying figures in their last moments on Earth. Pompeii covered a total area of 64 to 67 hectares, or 160 to 170 acres. Pompeii was built about 40 meters or 130 feet above sea level on a coastal lava plateau created by earlier eruptions of Mount Vesuvius, 8 kilometers or 5 miles away. The people of Pompeii were under different colonizers like the Etruscans and Greek before the Romans. They spoke different languages like the Oscan language, Samnite language, Phoenician, Greek, and finally Roman. They adopted the Doric architecture and Etruscan influence. Proof of that influence is the presence of Etruscan inscriptions with detailed and complicated designs of Necropolis or City of the Dead, a huge cemetery with tomb monuments. Also fragments of Bucchero, a class of ceramics which is typical of Etruscan craftsmanship. Houses were built with atrium, typical of the Etruscan people. Atria became a common feature in ancient Roman dwellings, which provided light and ventilation to the interior. The people of Pompeii followed the cult of Apollo that explains the Temple of Apollo. The progressive migration of wealthy men to quieter cities in the eastern Mediterranean, Pompeii continued to flourish due to the production and trade of wine and oil, as well as to intensive agriculture on farms around the city, which used various means to maximize yields. The Forum and many public and private buildings of high architectural quality were built, including Teatro Grande, the Temple of Jupiter, the Basilica, the Comitium, the Stabian Baths, and a new two-story portico. Pompeii was fed with running water from Serino Aqueduct. The public buildings that were built or refurbished and the addition of amphitheater of Pompeii, the Forum Baths, and the Odeon, as well as the embellishment of the colonnade of Pompeius, raised the status of Pompeii as a cultural center in the region. After the 62 AD earthquake, major renovations of buildings and houses were done. Some buildings like the Central Baths were only started after the earthquake and were built to enhance the city with modern developments in their architecture. Some rich citizens had their houses redecorated. New frescoes were painted on the walls. Some houses were not completely buried but destroyed. By 79 AD, Pompeii had a population of 20,000. Out of this number, only approximately 1,150 bodies have so far been found on the site, confirming the theory that most escapees probably managed to salvage some of their most valuable belongings. Many skeletons were found with jewelry, coins, and silverware. Pompeii was first discovered in 1599 by Domenico Fontana by accident. He was digging up a new course for the river Sarno. He had dug a channel underground when he discovered the city. It is believed he found many things, but he covered the findings over after looking at only a few. Some believe that Fontana found the frescoes were too erotic, and because of the strict modesty, he buried them again with the intention not to be seen again. This was supported by reports of later excavators who believed that sites they were working on had already been visited and then reburied. Many frescoes discovered in homes had a sexual theme. It took more than 150 years before a campaign was started to have them uncovered. The engineer looked closely at the water channel that Fontana had dug and discovered that at this place antiques had been found. So the ruins of Pompeii were actually first discovered late in 1748. The insulae in each region were numbered, and each door on the street was given a number so that each house could be conveniently located by 3 numerals. Objects buried in Pompeii were well preserved for 2,000 years due to lack of air and moisture, but once exposed, it rapidly deteriorated. Funds provided by World Monuments Fund, American Express, and Samuel H. Crest Foundation are not sufficient enough to stop the slow decay of materials, not to mention the vast area. Excavation of Pompeii is the longest excavation in the history and is still ongoing. Only 2/3 has been covered so far. Pompeii is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and is one of the most popular tourist attractions in Italy. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more videos about ancient civilization. Check out the playlist of my videos about travel and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.